The 2023 NFL season began for the Kansas City Chiefs the same way their previous ones had, with noise, expectations, and the heavy crown of champions. They were the team everyone wanted to beat, the standard of excellence built under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs were no longer chasing greatness, they were defending it. Yet, the quest to repeat as champions is never easy in the NFL. Every opponent treats the game like a Super Bowl, every mistake is magnified, and every success is met with doubt from those waiting to see when the dynasty will fade. From the start of training camp, Mahomes carried himself like a man who knew history was within reach. He had already built a resume most quarterbacks could only dream of: MVPs, Super Bowl rings, miracle comebacks, but it wasn't enough. "We're still building," he said during media day, a grin on his face that hinted at quiet determination. Around him, the locker room felt familiar yet subtly different. The core was intact: Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Creed Humphrey, and a disciplined defense under Steve Spagnuolo. But there were questions at wide receiver, and doubts about whether this team had enough weapons to sustain another title run. The season opener against the Detroit Lions set the tone for how bumpy the road might be. Without Kelce and Jones, the Chiefs lost a close, frustrating game at Arrowhead. Drops, penalties, and offensive miscues painted an uncharacteristic picture. For the first time in years, people began to whisper, maybe the Chiefs aren't the same. But inside the locker room, no one panicked. Mahomes told reporters afterward, "We'll fix it. It's one game." That composure was what made Kansas City different. They didn't chase headlines. They fixed problems. Through September and October, the Chiefs battled inconsistency. Their defense carried them early, one of the best units in the league, fast, physical, and well-coordinated. Rookie cornerbacks played beyond their years, the pass rush was relentless, and Spagnuolo's schemes confused even elite quarterbacks. The offense, though, took time to find its rhythm. Young receivers like Rashee Rice showed flashes, but drops and miscommunication haunted the passing game. Critics claimed Mahomes looked mortal. Yet, what no one noticed was how he adapted, taking fewer risks, trusting short passes, and allowing the defense to win games. It wasn't flashy, but it was mature football. By mid-season, the Chiefs had reasserted control of the AFC. They weren't blowing teams out, but they were winning ugly, disciplined games. Kelce's chemistry with Mahomes remained the heartbeat of the offense. Off the field, their connection kept the team loose, a mix of competitive fire and genuine friendship. Every time the offense struggled, Mahomes found Kelce on third downs, and it always seemed to spark the team back to life. One defining moment came in Germany against the Miami Dolphins. The Chiefs built a lead early and held off one of. The clock ticked toward the end of regulation, and every fan inside Allegiant Stadium could feel the weight of the moment. The 49ers were seconds away from pulling off what so many had tried and failed to do: dethrone the Chiefs. But Patrick Mahomes, standing calmly on the sideline, wasn't thinking about failure. He was thinking about the next play, the next read, the next throw. His eyes were steady as he strapped his helmet back on and jogged toward the field. The season had come down to one final drive, and everyone in the world watching knew who wanted the ball in his hands. Mahomes opened the drive with composure. Short completions to Rashee Rice and Jerick McKinnon helped move the chains. The 49ers' defense tightened, forcing third downs, but Mahomes found Kelce each time, threading passes through microscopic windows. Every throw carried a sense of inevitability, not desperation, but destiny. The Chiefs crossed midfield with the clock winding down. San Francisco brought pressure, but Mahomes escaped, scrambling to his right, firing a bullet across his body to Justin Watson for a crucial gain. The crowd erupted, half in shock, half in awe. With under a minute left, the Chiefs were in field goal range. Mahomes took one last shot toward the end zone, incomplete. Then Harrison Butker trotted out. The man who had been automatic all season now carried the hopes of Kansas City once again. The snap, the hold, the kick, perfect. Straight through. The game was tied at 19-19. The clock hit 0. The Super Bowl was heading to overtime for only the second time in history. On the sideline, Mahomes walked calmly back to the bench, nodding to his teammates. There was no shouting, no overreaction. Just a quiet confidence, they'd been here before. The defense gathered around coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, while the offense reviewed adjustments. Across the field, the 49ers huddled in silence, determined not to let Mahomes touch the ball again. When the coin flipped and landed heads, Kansas City chose to receive. The stadium buzzed with electricity. Mahomes, helmet on, whispered something to Kelce before stepping back onto the field. The cameras caught his face, expressionless, focused, ready. He knew what was at stake. This was their dynasty-defining moment. The first play of overtime was a simple handoff to Isaiah Pacheco. The young running back, who had battled through pain and punishment all postseason, powered forward for 6 yards. It wasn't flashy, but it was physical, a tone-setter. On the next play, Mahomes faked the handoff and hit Rice on a quick slant. First down. The offense began to hum, each snap building momentum. The 49ers adjusted, closing the gaps and forcing Mahomes to move. He responded the way only he could, slipping away from pressure, rolling left, and delivering a strike to Kelce down the seam. Another first down. The Kansas City sideline exploded. Travis Kelce, a man who had been a quiet storm all game, now came alive. The confetti had fallen, the lights were dimming, and yet, hours after the game, the Kansas City Chiefs still hadn't left the field. Players stood in small clusters, taking it all in. Some hugged their families, others sat in silence, staring at the scoreboard as if afraid to blink and find it gone. The stadium crew worked around them, sweeping up pieces of red and gold paper that stuck to their shoes and jerseys, quiet reminders of what they'd just achieved. Patrick Mahomes lingered the longest. He walked to the 50-yard line, helmet tucked under his arm, eyes scanning the stands. In that moment, it wasn't about the cameras or the MVP trophy waiting for him. It was about memory. The grind, the injuries, the noise, the doubt, everything that had built this moment. When he finally turned toward the tunnel, he paused, looked back once more, and whispered, almost to himself, "We did it again." Back in the locker room, the atmosphere was part chaos, part disbelief. Reporters crowded in, champagne sprayed across lockers, players laughed and cried all at once. Travis Kelce danced on a bench, pointing toward Andy Reid and yelling, "We told M, Big Red. We told M." Reid just laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from years of work, pressure, and release. "You did it, boys," he said quietly. "You earned every bit of it." The post-game interviews were filled with familiar themes: belief, resilience, family. But behind the clichés were real emotions. Chris Jones talked about how close the team had come to falling apart mid-season, how defensive meetings sometimes turned into honest conversations about leadership and commitment. "We could have folded," he said, "but we didn't. We grew stronger." Mahomes, in his interview, gave credit everywhere but himself. "It's not me," he said. "It's the guys up front, it's Trav, it's the defense that kept us in games. Everybody has a role here, and everyone plays it." The humility wasn't for show, it was who he was. That quality, the refusal to make it about him, had become a cornerstone of the Chiefs' dynasty. In the days that followed, Kansas City became a celebration in motion. Fireworks lit the skyline, murals appeared overnight downtown, and radio stations replayed the final touchdown call every hour. The parade was unlike anything the city had ever seen. Streets overflowed with fans in red, some crying, some climbing lampposts just to get a glimpse of the team. Mahomes and Kelce stood on top of their float, both holding microphones, their voices barely audible over the cheers. Kelce started the chant that echoed for miles, "You gotta fight, for your right, to party." The crowd answered in unison, shaking the city with laughter and joy. Andy Reid, standing behind them, smiled like a proud father. He had always been the steady hand, the calm center of chaos. Now, he just soaked it in, content to let his players have their moment. Later that night, in a quieter setting, Reid reflected on the season.